Hey friends, I've got some more interesting emails to read today, and I'm going to be a little risky and actually show the original doc since I'm reading them from there. Gonna give the usual disclaimer real quick. These emails were obtained through the Freedom of Information Act and the Missouri Sunshine Law. All prisoner communications are subject to Freedom of Information Act requests. Several of you kept mentioning in the comments that Gypsy had said at one point in her prison emails that she thought Ken had HIV. And I thought I remembered reading that, but I just couldn't. It's been so long from some of the ones that I read in the very beginning from those original live streams with Into the Weeds that a lot of them are kind of missed. And I couldn't find it at all anywhere. So I went on Reddit and asked Lil Frodo for help, and they were coming through as always. Thank you so much, Lil Frodo. Gave me the exact page to start on. So I scrolled back a little bit and I think I remember these. I think this is Italy guy or maybe someone in the UK. Like I said, this is the original document and I can't quite tell where one dude ends and another one begins sometimes. So it could even be a plethora. Anyway, let's take a look, friends. We're starting on page 847. Inbound to Gypsy. I went to sleep at 5 because I had a coffee yesterday. I don't have to do it anymore. Today I feel like a zombie. Tongue face. I'm glad we talked yesterday. Smile. Meow, meow, meow. Moi. Inbound to Gypsy. Oh, and let me show y'all real quick the date on these. Where we're starting is May 2nd, 2021. So Gypsy's well into her relationship with Ryan at this point. Outbound from Gypsy. Jedi Master Ninja Blank, LOL. Your emails never fall short of making me giggle and smile. As I said, I will only let us go so far, but I do not feel like any woman deserves to be cheated on. I think we are fine as long as we don't sleep together while you are engaged. And since we can't while I'm in here, then we shouldn't feel guilty for simply being open about how we think and feel for each other. Anyways, moving on from the obvious. I watched a good movie the other day. It's called The Shape of Water. Tonight, me and my bunkmate is watching her TV. We are going to watch the movie Glass. It is the third film in a trilogy. The first movie is Unbreakable. The second is called Split, and the third is Glass. The movie Split was awesome. If you can watch the movie called Water for Elephants, it's a good romantic drama. By the way, I am sorry Blank is still having bad side effects from the vaccine. Frown face. Outbound from Gypsy. I had a bad night's sleep. Ugh. And this morning, everyone is being so loud, yelling. The common area is right outside everyone's room. And if the women are loud, you can hear all the talking, shouting, laughing from inside the room. At 7 a.m., it's not cute. I need earplugs. Flops over with a pillow over my head. I can't wait to be home and I can wake up to a peaceful morning. Ooh. Chip gets a little weird here. Listen to this. Outbound from Gypsy. I personally don't like it when characters are changed from their original form. I heard Disney is making a live action version of The Little Mermaid, and in the cartoon, Ariel is white with red hair. In the movie they're making, they casted a black actress. I don't want the original Ariel to be changed in any way. I understand that in America, everyone is wanting to be more open to diversity. Race is a big topic right now. Blacks are fighting against police brutality. Asian Americans are being targeted due to the stigma from COVID. Personally, I am not racist. However, I have also been around a lot of blacks who are racist against whites. Every day on my housing unit, the whites are, in a sense, overrun by the blacks. Blacks stick with their own, and whites are just there and behave in their each individual way. I befriend anyone who is nice to me. But yeah, back to movies. I don't like it when characters are changed in any way, race or otherwise. What do y'all think of that, friends? I don't always care for all the new remakes, but personally, I loved the new Little Mermaid because I have deeply, deeply studied Caribbean history. And so whenever I lived on the Gulf Coast, as I've told y'all, I spent a time period living in Biloxi, Mississippi, down on the Gulf Coast, spent a lot of time in New Orleans. And I learned a lot at that time about the Haitian and Caribbean traditions of the Black Mermaids, the La Sirens. Oh my gosh, like they're beautiful, amazing, scary, spooky lore around the Black Mermaids. There's nothing new about that. And since whenever they remade that particular one, they reset it into a Caribbean setting, knowing all that history, it made absolute perfect sense to me to just remake it that way. I had no problem with it. Anyway, what do y'all think, friends? Okay, back to her emails. Outbound from Gypsy. LOL, just got the picture. Smile. The feeling is mutual. My confession session is going to be an hour long. LOL. Inbound to Gypsy. I don't know why, but today you particularly excite me. I really do want to do things to you, but unfortunately, I think would be censored. I would kiss you, taking your breath away. I would undress you all, and I would begin to touch you. But before I continue, but before continuing, I'd make you wait a bit, just because I feel a bit asshole. Smile. I'd get you wet a lot. Have you seen? Today you're making me give up, my little witch. Outbound from Gypsy. I did, sweetie. You didn't hear it because of the recording interrupting. I was sad to have to get off the phone, but I came back from a class to your email, so I'm happy again. Smile. Okay, we don't have to talk anymore about blank. But as I said, you can ask me anything. More. I'll write more tonight. Smile. Inbound to Gypsy. I felt a little sad at the end of the phone call. You didn't even send me a kiss. What's wrong? Outbound from Gypsy. That 35 minutes just went by so fast. Next time I say something piggy, it's going to be in English. So learn your piggy words. Wink. What the hell? Piggy? Piggy? Is that about pay pigs? What the hell? I don't know. Weird. Outbound from Gypsy. I wanted to make sure I was clear. I don't have any feelings for Blank. At the time, I thought I loved him, but it was a little like a little girl crush. He told me everything I wanted to hear, but he was abusive too. He would yell at me in messages. He would call me very bad things. He would manipulate me. It was always him training me to be his toy. I was never a person to him, only a plaything. Now I see that he is a very disturbed person, and I would rather be alone for the rest of my life than ever be with him again. It was a very toxic thing. He is a pervert, but it's more than that. He likes hurting women physically and emotionally. And what is even more sad is there are women who write to him wanting to be his girlfriend. His last girlfriend added me on JPay a year ago and recently tried to contact me to tell me they broke up because he was treating her badly. I'm thinking to myself sarcastically, like, oh, the fact that he is in prison and knowing how he treated me wasn't a red flag. He is an evil person. That I can say. Oh my god, y'all, that is so hilarious. The lack of self-awareness there. Okay, she says, "How can they not see that the fact that he is in prison and how he treated her isn't a red flag?" Well, Gypsy is in prison for setting up Nick, lying to him, basically offering sex in exchange for murder, and then getting him a life sentence and herself a little baby one where she's about to get out. And she is the person in prison for pleading guilty to second-degree murder, talking about what a red flag it is that people write prisoners in there for murder, knowing how they treated their partners. Oh my god, what do y'all think, friends? Let me know in the comments. Inbound to Gypsy. Let's stop talking about blank, please. He disgusts me, and I am sorry you met him. I've been very happy to talk to you for about 35 minutes. When I talk to you, I am happy. Smile. If I had ever been close to you, I would have given you a very sweet kiss. Honestly, I already know a lot of piggy words. Tongue face. What the hell are these piggy words they are talking about, y'all? Oh, Lord. Okay, outbound from Gypsy. Dear Blank, I do believe you when you say that you have never cheated on a girlfriend, and I can see how you are relieved that the setting which we would first meet is one with limited physical contact. However, you would be surprised how sensual holding hands can become. If you rub your thumb on the palm of my hand, it excites me. That moment can become intense if you let it, especially if our eyes are locked. Heart that piqued my curiosity about when two people have an affair. Well, we both know an affair won't happen, but if you were single or with me, we would have no limits? I have had phone sex twice, and I was mostly made moaning sounds. LOL. The guided talking part of it, I am not great at, but I can manage the hard breathing. I don't think I ever told you about my father and his secret love affair. About 2 years ago, I was emailing with my dad, and he casually asked me if he ever told me about the cookie lady. I had no idea who he was talking about, so he proceeded to tell me the situation. This lady who was living in Canada had watched my story and wanted to reach out to me and my family. Her name is Blank and owns her own bakery. She had sent my parents 2 dozen fresh cookies with a sweet letter of support. Blank received the cookies while Dad was at work, and she was wary of food sent by a stranger, so she threw the cookies away but kept the note. When Dad came home, he was told about the cookie package and he seemed thankful to the woman for her efforts of support. Dad would have eaten the cookies had Blank not thrown them away. Anyways, Dad and Blank became friends without Blank knowing, and through time, they became much closer. They fell in love, but both were married. They never met in person, so they never slept together, but nude photos were exchanged. They often talked about divorcing their spouses and getting together and even discussing plans of him moving to Canada. But they had to make a choice when it come down to talking about how that would involve me. They wanted me to move with them. My father felt I deserve a stable living situation, and me aside, he feels it is much more affordable, in his words, to stay in a stale marriage rather than get a divorce. He wanted to meet her in person, but they agreed to focus on their marriage, and things were calm for a while at the beginning of 2020. Blink and him started talking more, and unfortunately, he wasn't careful and left his text messages open on his phone, and Blink caught him. She then knew everything. I knew about the whole emotional affair, but I thought they ended it. So when he was caught, I was between a rock and a hard place because Blank point blank asked me, "Did you know about her?" And I told Blank yes, but I didn't know it was still going on. I felt bad for knowing about the whole thing and not telling Blank, but he is my father. I can't betray his trust. Oh my God, y'all. We have read all the emails about the cookie lady between Gypsy and Christy, Gypsy and Rod, Gypsy telling other people besides this dude about it. And the story between her and Rod is so much different than she tells other people. It's one of the ways we know we can never trust any story she tells us about anything in her life. She lies to lie. Outbound from Gypsy. Sweetie, we first need to get you on my visiting list before we could make plans to have a visit. Do you still have the paper form? Outbound from Gypsy. Candy, Doja Cat. Outbound from Gypsy. If you want love, NF. Inbound to Gypsy. Sweetie, your phone call was a nice surprise. Smile. As I told you on the phone, I know that Blink has mental problems and a low IQ, but I was wondering if his lawyer advised him to look even more crazy to be able to stay in a mental institution, which is better than prison anyway. Of course, I think you deserve to be home with your family already. If you lived in Italy, you would have done 2 or 3 years in prison and then you would have been made house arrest. However, it's useless to talk about this. I will try to send you the form for the visit. Listen to the song, Face to Face. Susie and the Banshees. Okay, any friends that are from Italy, Europe, and know anything about that? Is he right that I've never heard of murderers getting such a light sentence in Italy? What do y'all think, friends? Okay, we're on page 848 now. Let's check the date again. We're still in 2021. Outbound from Gypsy. I have Wi-Fi again. Smile. If I was to keep talking, we would have been too hot for our own good. I'm going to take a cold shower. I may need a relief of some kind. Blank, I want you. I want you right now. I can desire you all I want, but unless you're single, I won't do any more than talk and kiss you. I'm sorry for the email I sent. I was feeling a certain way when I wrote it. I need to be a good person. You were right. You were engaged. You don't belong to me. I can't have you. But when I hear your voice and read your email, it's like I forget that for a while and all I can see is us and what we have. And I don't want you to cheat. That's not a good example you would be setting. How does that old saying goes? If he could do it to her, he can do it to you. We both just need some relief. And I hope you can understand what I mean by relief. Maybe you need a shower too. Wink. LOL. I guess you attract a lot of little kitties. Smile. There's a place called The Shadow. It's a mansion for girls with that fetish. They can be their kitten self there for the entire stay. I want to visit someday. Something tells me you wouldn't mind two cats fighting for your attention. LOL. I want a real collar with diamonds. Smile. My character is a black cat with a white tip tail. I would love to have you pet me and brush my hair. Oh my god, y'all. Amber and I wanted to go see if we could get an interview at the Shadow when we were in Denver, but honestly, after CrimeCon every day, I was exhausted. I just didn't have it in me. I was too exhausted. It's hilarious. Like, she is legit with Ryan during this time, I'm pretty sure. 2021, yeah, they were together. And this dude is engaged and she's talking all sexual to him all the time, but yet, like, when Ken took a girl who he worked with and he felt compassion for because she went through trauma and was cutting, to freaking ice cream. Gypsy could not handle it, had 0 compassion, but she just cheats with everyone and then has her pay pigs on the side. She doesn't hardly even talk sexual with the pay pigs. Also, when she says her character is a black cat with a white tip tail, didn't one of the cats she had with Dee Dee look like that? Anyway, moving on, friends. Inbound. I care about the environment too. I try to be careful not to pollute. For example, one of the many things I do is use the classic razor to shave. I avoid buying disposable razors so as not to produce too much plastic. Gypsy, in all honesty, I've never been with a woman with body hair. Smile. I've seen many naked women in my life, and I can say that those older than me only had hair under. While many, but not all, younger girls were completely shaved, both in Italy and the rest of the world. I don't mind a nice little triangle. Smile. I don't like hair on other parts of the bodies. Among the young Italian and European females, there seems to be the fashion not to shave anymore. When I went to the gym and showered, the young men were all completely shaved, while old people like me had hair. What a strange fashion. What do you prefer? By the way, in Europe, especially in Italy, there is no circumcision, except when there are problems. Well, that was explicit, y'all. No commentary. Inbound. To be honest, I would like you to visit both. They are two of the best cities in Italy. Italy has an ancient, beautiful culture. It's an awesome country, but government sucks. Frown face. Our government and politicians are very selfish. For decades, mentality were very ancient and male chauvinists. Young Italians are very different. There is no violent, racist country, but Italians are not much brave. In my opinion, we would be a better country if we go away to some politician. If we try to go away some politician, especially some senator that earns too much for doing nothing. We have everything: the real and most important art, ancient museums, amazing monuments, beautiful landscapes, excellent climate, awesome food. And then it cuts off. Outbound from Gypsy. Blank, I want us to pick a day next week and we can talk for 35 minutes. I am allowed to have 35 minutes phone call once a week. I want it to be uninterrupted. So, not while you are working and not while you are around blank. 11 a.m. my time isn't the best time for a long call. I have to be in my room 11:20 to 11:50 for count time. What is the time you can set aside for a long call next week? Outbound from Gypsy. I'm sure every country has corruption from politicians. America is no different. My parents are Republicans, so they did vote for Trump. But since I've never voted, I don't have an official side. I only have my opinions. I wanted for Biden to win the election. I like what he has been doing for our country so far. He has placed a spotlight on climate change, and in today's world, we need to be more eco friendly. Yes, I'm a tree hugging hippie. He has pulled our country from a deceased, infested shithole and is making vaccine distribution a high priority. I am not a proud American. I've always felt I was born in the wrong place. As I have said, I have an interest in Europe. I could pick many places to live: England, Ireland, Italy. I crave the majestic. My curious nature makes where I was born too small for my inner gypsy traveler. Okay, I have a weird question. I heard women in Europe do not shave their body hair. Is it true? Is it only true for certain places? Inquiring minds want to know. Oh my God, y'all. Okay, so personally, I'm an independent. I usually vote for third party candidates. I've never voted for Biden or Trump. I have issues with both. But for someone who has lived their whole life off scamming the system like Gypsy, who has described prison as a college dorm experience and then come out to absolute celebrity, I think America's done her pretty good. What do y'all think, friends? Outbound from Gypsy. Freak Doja Cat. Outbound from Gypsy. I have a funny story to tell you. So, when you mentioned about not being homosexual, I laughed because when I was with Blink, I always felt like he might be gay or at least bisexual. He was just such a pretty boy. And though I never had any hard proof, the women in here would make comments that they saw him visiting me and they really thought he was gay. He does a great impression of a flamboyant gay man, a little too well, if you ask me. And he and I never had phone sex. He never wanted to. He lived in a second largest homosexual city in the country. No, really, Seattle is known for the gays. Even when I met his mother, she told me he really didn't date as a boy or in his teen years. She thought he would grow up to be gay. He told me a story of when he went to a strip club for the first time. Stripper gave him a lap dance and he asked her if they could just talk instead. I thought that was cute and sweet when he first told me the story, but then I started suspecting he could be gay. I asked him too. I told him it would not make me think different of him. I'd love him all the same if he was bisexual. And there is another thing. He gets his blood taken every so many months and gets sick very easy, a sign of being HIV positive. He still insists he isn't gay. So the thing that cracks me up about this, friends, I don't give a shit if Ken is gay, bisexual, or straight. It doesn't matter a bit. But Gypsy gets so mad talking about how, oh, the content creators want him to be gay so bad. No, we don't care. We're just reporting on your actions, Gypsy. And for quite some time, Gypsy insisted he was gay. Oh, man. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off here and edit, friends. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. Let's see how it is, y'all. Chocolate martini at the red piano bar. That's definitely Africa. That's totally Turner Africa. Rotunda, 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 rotunda.